Full-time reaction to Celtic 2, Livingston 0 at Celtic Park. I've got Darren and Martin with me to review that one. Martin, it's a win, a much needed win after how the last couple of weeks have went. Would you make of that today?
There was a lot of pressure on the team going into that game today after the last couple of performances, and a lot of uncertainty in the fan base, even though we're playing bottom of the league. And we had the fans that have been locked out of the game recently back in to help us create a little bit of atmosphere. There was a lot of apprehension going into that game. We shouldn't have been going into the game worried playing bottom of the league, but we were. I thought the first sort of 10-15 minutes we showed intent. There was a bit more energy. We tried to play the more ambitious pass, whereas I felt the last couple of weeks we were trying to play the safe pass and not really getting anywhere against teams who come in to sit deep.
We kept trying to play that pass that we've seen a lot under Kyogo in between the centre half and the full back for the wide player.
Absolutely, yep. And we tried to go wide as well just to pull the teams out, because that was a big Livingston team today, big huge players. And I thought it was working, but just that final pass was quite often lacking, and we weren't getting it in the centre of the box. It was quite often not getting past the first defender. So frustrating in the first half, and I suppose the boos at half time said it all. The fans were still feeling a bit unhappy, but then a great start to the second half, and then the game kind of petered out at the end. Probably a 2-0 was reflective of the performance, albeit with a lot of possession, but not a lot of clear-cut chances. But a win's a win, and we desperately needed that today just to give us something going in this last wee run of games.
Aye, we did, Darren. It was massive to win. Bernardo came into the team, Maeda started ahead of Mikey Johnston, as everybody expected. We did start the game well, but I felt just towards the end of that first half we get really untidy. It's no great conditions, but it's not really an excuse. I think we got untidy with a few wayward passes out of the pitch, and I think that just irritated the fans towards the end of the first half. And I think you can tell it's a team that's not in good form just now, and they're trying to play the way through it, but I think the good intensity that we started with just petered out towards the end of the first half.
Well, it was definitely an improved performance on last week. I think we can all agree with that, Martin. I agree with you when you said the first 15 minutes were pretty good, and then it did kind of slow down. I was watching the Livingston defence slowly, and I think I've said this before, the Livingston defence is like a team of basketball players, and I paid attention to the Livingston striker, Anderson I think his name was.
Yeah.
He's basically back the whole time helping out with the defence, so it was kind of getting that way the first half. The intent was there, but don't say if it's frustration or impatience of just kind of started to kick in. We realised that what we're doing isn't really working. I thought we tried to go down the wing a lot to Palma, but you just said to me 5 minutes ago there that it was pretty poor in the first half, and I agree with that. You just, like we all say, he's a bit predictable. He's trying to cut inside and maybe try to go for the goal range shoot when he should be crossing, but if you're going to cross, who are you crossing it to? Kyogo or Maeda, who are midgets compared to that team, so I can understand why there was maybe, I don't say it was like a whole stadium booing, but there was a few boos at half time, understandably. And it's kind of getting that way, you're thinking, is this going to be another? Because I can't remember ever coming here against Livingston and seeing a brilliant game. It's just always one of those games. Martindale sets up the same way every single time he comes here, but I don't know whether to give credit to Rodgers, because he's getting a lot of stick recently, but the first 5 minutes of the second half, I don't know what to say to them, because they did come out well. A wee bit of luck, I would say, in that first goal, because I think Palmer's actually shooting. Yeah. But, Kyogo, who I'm glad scored, because he's been so bad on confidence recently, just kind of threw it. Does what a striker does, mate. Just puts his body in the right place, and he's there for a tap in. And then I can't believe we scored for a corner, mate. I was scratching my eyes. Liam's brilliant header as well.
It was.
And actually we had a few good corners throughout the second half as well, which is, especially against a team like Livingston, very unlikely. So, but even after that 2-0, Livy kind of just went back in their shell a wee bit, and it kind of just reverted back to the first half. And I agree with you again, Martin, that you said 2-0 is probably a right reflection on the game. We're coming here away with a 2-0 win, but it's probably not get carried away, because Livingston are at the bottom of the league, and they're in a really bad place now, probably going to get relegated. So I just don't want to get too ahead of ourselves just now. Just I think we've got 3 games before the
break.
The break. Just normally I say try and win the games and put on a performance as well, but now it's just try and win the games, man.
Yeah, aye, absolutely, Martin. So important that we started the second half well, because he didn't want the game to get to 65, 70 minutes. Locked it 0-0, Livingston being stuffy, and the sort of things we've seen towards the end of the first half with the frustration in the team, trying to carve out chances and maybe passing them up. There was discontent at half time, which is natural after back-to-back defeats in the league, and locked it 0-0 half time. The 2 goals are really important, and as Darren says, it's so rare we score for a corner, and I think you could tell we actually worked on that corner during the week. A lot of complaints about what do we do in the training ground when it comes to set pieces. That sort of floated one into the front post. We've done it a few times in the second half, and Scales gets on the end of one. Just massive for us to win, and all we can really do is try and play out of this bad form.
Absolutely, I mean, when you're not playing well, it's all about just trying to dig deep until the form comes back. I mean, Maeda was a great example of that today. He hasn't been great since he came back from injury, but usually he's such a big player for us. And today he looked a bit frustrated. Sometimes when he went down, he was taking ages to get back up, and he just looked like he was letting it get on top of him. And I think you just have to fight your way through that and work your way through that, because this form will come back if you use him as an example. And not all the players are necessarily got the same level of competence and capability, and some of them are there by virtue of the fact that there's maybe no better players on the bench, and they probably won't be there long term. But for some of the players who we've seen are capable and we think will be there long term, I think it's just fighting your way through it. And we've obviously got Hatata and Abada still to come back at some point, and then it's a big January for us trying to bring in some signings. Dundee away, they've been in some good form, and then of course we've got the Glasgow derby on Saturday, and then a really tough game at St Mirren away. So three tough fixtures to finish the season. But if we can come away, as Dan says, with 3 victories from those 3 games, it'll give us an opportunity to regroup in January, see what we do during the winter period as well with the squad. Maybe release some of the players. I think some of them are probably their time's up at Celtic. And get some freshness into that team, because that's what we desperately need right now.
Aye, Dan, it's a difficult one today, trying to single out a man of the match. Palmer gets the sponsor man of the match, he gets the 2 assists. I think at times a lot of players try to make some happen, but it was just one of the games, really quite a stuffy afternoon. But can you single somebody out, apart from Palmer, maybe?
No, genuinely no. Jeez. Can I skip?
You can,
mate, like you said, it's just one of those games, like maybe a 5 or 6 out of 10 for every single player. Again, like you can't really pick, because it's not as if there's one. Maybe Matt O'Reilly maybe, or Bernardo. Usually,
would you make of Bernardo coming in?
Aye, not bad. Definitely an upgrade on David Turnbull. I think there's a bit more pace there and a bit more dynamic. He wants to maybe get the ball in a half turn, with Turnbull's usually just wants to take the ball dead and probably pass it back to a centre half. But not a little bit more of the play went through in the middle this time, which you look at Hearts and Kilmarnock, it was just going down the wide area because there really wasn't nothing else. So probably I would just say maybe I wouldn't say man of match, his best player, Matt O'Reilly, Bernardo.
Aye, Martin, I think just the only question mark again for me, we don't look very confident at the back at all. Livingston offered very, very little offensively today, but there's even a couple of times where we just look a wee bit all over the place, and that will come back to bite us against better teams. We really need to tidy that up. But aside for that, can you single him out today? Difficult one, isn't it?
I think just on how players are performing, I remember under Neil Lennon, in fact even probably before Neil Lennon, you sometimes see players dipping in form, but sometimes it's to do with who's round about them. So if you're in a team with 11 players and you've got 2 or 3 that are underperforming, you can maybe to some extent compensate, and you don't see a dip in performance from some of your top players. But I remember watching Scott Brown in a good Celtic team where there was a couple of players round about him underperforming, and all of a sudden his performance level dropped. And that's what happens, if you look at Callum McGregor is a good example right now. So, behind him he's got an underperforming Taylor, an underperforming Johnson, he's got Scales, who has been good but is not yet there. So, and then he's got Joe Hart, and that's just the players behind him. And then you start to think about the players in front of him, left and right. We've really been lacking out wide, and Kyogo's been out of form.
Contagious, isn't it?
Yeah, it's contagious. And why is Kyogo out of form? Because he's not getting the distribution from the left and the right. And the guys on the left and the right that are playing defensive areas will be saying, well, the guys behind us are not doing too well. And they'll be saying, well, Scales is a bit ropey and the keeper's not great. And it is contagious, right? And sometimes you look at individual form and you think, well, is Kyogo playing badly, or is he not? Is the players around about him playing badly, and he's suffering as a consequence? It's a combination, isn't it? I think today, I do agree with what Darren's saying. There wasn't many standout players. In fact, most probably underperformed. They were all average at best. I do think if you force me, I would say probably Carter Vickers at times was really, really good. Remember in the first half?
He had a good challenge in the first half.
He done
tidied
it twice,
up well,
didn't he? I noticed him in corners when we talk about trying to do something different in corners. He appears to be getting much more involved in the corners. I remember in the past, Carter Vickers more so staying at the edge of the box, and he'd be the runner trying to get in the end of them. But now he's trying to take some of those big players out. Like today in particular, where there was 3 or 4 big bulky players, he was trying to get closer to the actual goal line itself and get a couple of players to mark him to free up space for other players. So I thought Carter Vickers today was probably stand out at the back. I know Palmer got the man of the match, but he was good and bad. He had 2 assists. It's almost a guarantee you got 2 assists, you're going to get man of the match. But his overall performance wasn't great, so probably Carter Vickers for me. Yeah,
there you go. That's it for Full Time Reaction. Merry Christmas. Have a brilliant time. We'll see you on Boxing Day in Dundee. Thank you.